Owen Bennett was 31, running the parts counter at a marina repair shop in Bellingham, Washington, fixing outboard engines for fishermen who treated their boats better than their marriages. He liked machines because they made sense. A stalled engine had a reason. A stripped bolt had a fix. People rarely worked that way. His evenings were small and quiet. Leftovers, a wrench more often than a fork. A television he wasn't really watching. He wasn't unhappy. He'd just stopped expecting anything to interrupt the pattern. His co-worker's wife set him up on the date. Her name was Avery Shaw, 27, a ceramicist who taught pottery classes above a bookstore downtown. "She's a little chaotic," the co-worker's wife warned, "but she's got a good heart. Don't bring your shop voice." He didn't know what his shop voice was, but he showed up anyway, at the Harbor Diner, 7 sharp, in a shirt without grease on it. He found a booth, ordered coffee, and watched the minute hand move. 7:10, 7:20, 7:26. He was halfway through typing a text, running late or not coming, when the door banged open hard enough to rattle the bell above it. A woman stumbled in like she'd been running for blocks, hair falling out of its clip, a canvas bag sliding off one shoulder, gripping the hand of a boy, maybe 7, in a striped beanie 2 sizes too big. Her eyes swept the room and landed on Owen just as he was about to put his jacket back on. Something broke across her face, relief and humiliation arriving together. "You're Owen?" she said, already crossing the room. "I'm Avery. I am so sorry. I know this looks insane. She stopped and looked down at the boy, who was studying Owen with unsettling focus, like a locked door he was trying to figure out. The boy didn't speak. He pulled a small spiral notebook from his bag, wrote something quickly, and held it up toward Avery, not toward Owen. "He has kind eyes." Avery read it, and her shoulders dropped half an inch, like the words had given her permission to breathe. "This is Eli," she said quietly. "My nephew. He doesn't talk. Selective mutism since he was 4. He writes mostly." Every ounce of irritation Owen had stacked up over the last 26 minutes evaporated. He looked at Eli and spoke slowly. "I like your beanie. Good color." Eli's face opened into a grin he clearly hadn't planned on showing anyone, and pulled the beanie down further, pleased. Owen shrugged his jacket back onto the booth. "I'm not leaving yet," he said, sliding the menu across the table. "Sit. Have you 2 eaten?" Avery hesitated like she didn't trust the offer. "Owen, I should explain. My sister was supposed to pick him up. She didn't. She's not answering. My phone died, my friend's car broke down, and I didn't have anywhere else to take him." "Sit down," he said again. "Tell me after you've ordered." That's how the strangest first date of his life began. With him flagging down a waitress for hot chocolate and a kid's menu, and a woman across the table apologizing for nearly everything, including the noise level of the diner. He finally had to stop her. "If you apologize once more, I'm making you finish my vegetables." She laughed for the first time, and Eli, watching her mouth, laughed too, without knowing the joke. Over the next hour, he learned Avery had taught ceramics for 5 years, and loved the exact moment a glaze came out of the kiln right. He learned Eli loved drawing trucks and hated being looked at, and he learned, in the sideways way people reveal hard things, that Avery's sister Ruth had been unraveling since her divorce, vanishing for days, leaving Eli behind more and more, always with the same line afterward, "You're so good with him." Owen recognized it for what it was, not a compliment, a transfer of weight. "Does this happen a lot?" he asked. Avery glanced at Eli, drawing a dump truck on his napkin. "More than it used to. She says she needs space to get herself together. The space always seems to be far from her own son." Owen didn't say anything clever. "Sounds like bad plumbing. Everything leaks a little so nobody fixes it, then when the floor floods, everybody asks why you didn't mop faster." Avery stared at him like he'd said something stranger than he meant to, eyes suddenly wet. When they left near 9, Avery apologized twice more before Owen stopped her at her car. "Strangest date I've ever had," he said, watching her face fall before he added, "but not the worst one. I want to see you again. Even if next time still includes Eli." In the back seat, the boy had already fallen asleep, beanie crooked. "Especially if it includes Eli. I want payback for that truck drawing. Mine looked nothing like a fish." She laughed for real that time. They traded numbers. As her car pulled away, Eli stirred just enough to press a handwritten note to the window. "Bye." Over the following weeks, Owen folded into their life in small pieces. Saturday coffee, Thursday takeout, afternoons at the park while Eli sketched geese. One evening he found Eli on the floor in front of a collapsed art easel, paper scattered everywhere. jaw tight with the effort of not crying. "It fell this morning," Avery said. "He tried to fix it himself." Owen knelt and wrote on Eli's notepad, "Want to fix it together?" Eli nodded hard. Owen didn't do it for him. He walked him through sanding the broken joint, marking new screw holes, letting the boy drive in the last screw himself. When it stood upright, Eli wrapped both arms around Owen's waist without a single word. That night, after Eli slept, Avery told Owen quietly, "You didn't just fix the easel, you made him feel like he fixed it." Owen didn't know what to say, so he didn't, and the silence filled in something he hadn't realized was empty. 3 months after the diner, Ruth lost her apartment. She vanished for 2 days, then sent one text. "I need time to get stable. Can you keep Eli a while?" A while could mean a week or a year. Avery's mother only said, "You're so good with him anyway." Owen hated the sentence on contact. Guardianship paperwork buried Avery's kitchen table, school records, medical forms, court dates. Her one-bedroom apartment swallowed boxes of Eli's things. He slept on the couch, folding his blanket every morning like he was trying to prove he didn't take up space. Avery started pulling away from Owen by text. "Busy, he's tired, fine," he knew it wasn't. Then came the message that said it plainly. "I can't do this right now. I don't have room for him, and I don't have room for a relationship. I can't be your girlfriend while I'm becoming someone's accidental parent. I'm sorry." He read it twice, standing in the aisle between coiled rope and replacement cleats. She wasn't wrong about the apartment, but space wasn't something you waited to find. It was something you built. He looked at the shelf beside him. Tension rods, partition panels, soundproofing foam, anchors, a level. He started measuring her living room from memory. That Saturday, he showed up at 8 with a borrowed truck full of materials. Avery opened the door in yesterday's clothes, dark circles under her eyes, and stared at the panels in the hallway. "Owen, I told you." "I know," he said, setting down the toolbox. "We're not building a relationship today. We're building Eli a room." He handed her one end of a panel. "Hold this. It's heavier than it looks." She stood frozen, then took it. They spent the whole day turning a dead corner of the living room into a real bedroom. Partition wall, soundproofing, a curtain door, a narrow bed, a shelf for drawings. Eli handed Owen screws like a foreman, delighted by the level, checking if every other surface in the apartment was straight too. When it was finished, he walked into the middle of his new room, touched the walls with both hands, then hugged Avery and Owen at once, hands too busy to write anything down. Avery cried. Owen pretended to check a screw so he wouldn't. That night, sitting on the floor with her shoulder against his, Avery whispered, "I'm sorry I pushed you away." "I know why," Owen said. "If things got hard, you figured you had to cut out everything unnecessary." "Am I unnecessary?" She shook her head, crying harder. "No, you're the thing I'm scared of needing too much." He took her hand instead of answering right away. "I'm not afraid of the chaos. I'm afraid you think you have to live in it alone." The guardianship hearing came 3 weeks later. Owen wasn't family, so he sat in the hallway holding Eli's backpack and snacks while Avery went before the judge. He crouched and asked Eli, slow and direct, "You okay?" Eli wrote, "Scared mom won't come. Scared she will." Owen wrote back, "I'm here. Aunt Avery's here. You're not alone." Eli read it twice and nodded. Ruth never showed. The judge granted Avery temporary guardianship for 6 months, a victory wrapped around a burden. When they walked out, Eli ran past his aunt's open arms straight into Owen's, holding on with both fists. That evening, Ruth was waiting outside the apartment door, thinner than her photos, eyes hollow. Eli stepped behind Avery's legs before anyone spoke. "You got guardianship, and now you're keeping my son from me?" Ruth said. Avery's voice stayed level. "You didn't come to court. If you want to see him, we do it through the proper channels." Ruth turned on Owen. "And who are you, boyfriend or the free handyman?" He said nothing. Not his fight to start. "Get your things, Eli! Mom's taking you!" Eli grabbed the back of Avery's shirt and didn't move, breathing fast, overwhelmed past words or notebooks. He bolted into his room and pulled the curtain shut. Owen stepped in front of it before Ruth could follow. "Stop! He's terrified! A decent adult doesn't push into a scared kid's only safe space." Ruth's face hardened, but Avery moved beside him. Not behind him, beside him. "I love you," she told her sister, voice shaking but steady. But I won't let you put him through this because you feel guilty today. Ruth broke down. You think I'm a terrible mother? I think you're a mother who isn't okay right now, Avery said. And he can't keep paying for that. Ruth left that night, agreeing to go through social services properly. Nobody had won completely, but behind the curtain, Eli was still safe. And some nights that's the only victory available. 6 months later, the apartment didn't feel like it was drowning anymore. Eli's room had a real pine bed Owen built, a shelf crowded with drawings, trucks, the diner booth, 3 figures building a wall together, Owen with a head slightly too square. Ruth had started supervised visits. Nothing was healed, but it had stopped bleeding. Avery still woke at 2 some mornings to check paperwork, but she'd stopped trying to carry it all silently. One November afternoon, assembling a new desk on the living room floor, Eli supervised with the seriousness of a foreman while Owen and Avery argued over which panel was which. Eli wrote a note and handed it to Avery, who laughed reading it. He says we're hopeless, she translated. Eli wrote something else and passed it to her instead. Avery went quiet, then smiled. He says he was right the first time. You really do have kind eyes. Owen looked at the boy, who returned the look with the gravity of a conclusion reached after months of observation. Avery leaned her head against Owen's shoulder. I used to think you'd leave, she said. I was late. I brought a kid. My whole life was a mess. You didn't need someone to leave, Owen said, looking at the room they'd built one panel at a time. You needed someone willing to build it with you. Do you ever regret not walking out of that diner? Not even once, he said, and meant it more than anything he'd ever said about an engine, a bolt, or a perfectly fixed shelf.